Some 225 years ago, when we started this country, we had over 24 million acres of such eastern floodplain hardwood forests. When I came to the Senate some 37 years ago, they were taking this particular stand, which is of 22,000 acres now, that we've made a monument.
My name is Courtney Love Gowans, and I'm a manager here at the Backpacker. We started in 1973, and we are South Carolina's original outdoor outfitter. My father, Lewis Jones, and his brother, Malcolm Jones, started the business as a result of not having any place locally to buy camping or backpacking equipment. They either had to travel to North Carolina or make orders to the Sears catalog, believe it or not. So that was the beginning of recognizing there was a need for a local outfitter here in South Carolina. Obviously, people look at amenities of an area, and when we have some beautiful things to offer in the outdoors, like the river and the different parks that we have, our state park system, for example, just awesome, organization of parks throughout the state with great programming, great campsites, great helpful staff, and then kind of, again, just this, what used to be the monument, Congaree National Monument, now a national park in our state, which it'll blow me away how many people have never been out there and just don't know this just treasure that we have out there. People have to know and appreciate what that means and what that is for them, what they have to utilize it. People want to know, hey, what's cool to do outside here in Columbia, whether they're visiting or maybe they've lived here for a long time, but all of a sudden they've taken on this new hobby that they're excited about. They want to day hike. Maybe it's just starting out day hiking. And Congaree, that's a great place to day hike. They've got a lovely environmental education center out there that people can learn, and volunteer staff that take people out on day hikes so that they can be educated straight from the horse's mouth, so to say. And then if they graduate to camping, they've got really nice campsites out there. So it really is a place that completes everything for a special outdoor experience.
It's an emotional attachment that people have to the outdoors. People from Europe would come over here, and back then America had sort of an inferiority complex about their cultural treasures because we were such a new country. So they go to Europe and they say, oh, we don't have these magnificent buildings and all over the United States. Well, Roosevelt's came along and said, we've got it in aces as far as treasures, because we have our national parks and our national wildlife refuges. So they really believed that this was a legacy, not just for their generations, it was a legacy that would carry forward, and it has. And the Antiquities Act sets up kind of like a farm system for future national parks. Roosevelt's used the Antiquities Act many times to create national monuments, and eventually these national monuments became national parks. So it's a way of getting started on the Congaree Swamp was a national monument, the first, for its first 20 or 25 years. So it's a way to get beautiful, magnificent tracts online to become national parks.
They were burning it off and cutting it and destroying it at the rate of about 500 acres a year. And Mr. Harry Hampton of Columbia, South Carolina, a famous conservationist to us in the state, came to me, and we've worked over the past 37 years. We back in the early 70s got it created as a national monument, but the thrust now is to make it a national park.
The history of the Congaree National Park, you may be aware that there was tremendous opposition. But after a park is created, I don't think I've ever, particularly after 10 or 20 years and things start to settle in, people begin to use it, it becomes an economic booster. You never hear of anybody saying, "Well, I sure wish this wasn't a national park." I mean, once it's created, it's like it's mom and apple pie.
So there's been some policy both at the state level out west and at the federal level where they wanted what they would call give the land back to the states and let the states manage these millions of acres of public lands. And we would call it a public lands takeover or a transfer of public lands. And the reason it's a bad thing is that if you think about the federal budget or your state budget, think about the stresses that you have. And if you were to give the lands back to the states could sell those off to oil and gas development or to private citizens or to corporations, and those beautiful places that that are meant for the public and meant to be preserved and for the wildlife could be gone. Some of the other threats are just right now in the current environment, we're doing a lot of defense. So there's this thing called the Antiquities Act, which basically allows the President of the United States to designate areas off limits in perpetuity. So one of the threats to that is that they could take away the Antiquities Act, so that would be bad, because right now presidents use that at their discretion to really preserve important pieces of land without. And then the other piece is we have designated monuments right now that could be potentially either take away some of the property or, which has never happened before, the President of the United States could just say we're not going to let that be a monument any longer.
The main thing is to remind people that they have a voice, and that if they don't like the direction things are going, they need to write their local representatives and senators and let them know what they think and tell them how they wish they would vote. It's South Carolina. It's our national park, and it's personal, and it's something that everybody here should really take an opportunity to experience.